Greetings, what is up and a very warm welcome to the channel. The rain is pouring and the magpie is casting, coming to you this lockdown, what are we, Tuesday the 28th, with a live 1 versus 1 battle fresh from the Company of Heroes 2 ladder, featuring, spawning in the south, it is going to be the Overcommand West pieces of a load of Chinese characters, who I'm just going to go ahead and call Kanji. And spawning in the north, playing as the United States Forces, it's going to be none other than PanzerGrenadierAngreifen. So, yep. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, clearly one of the players in the top echelons of the game, and one of my favourite players to cast. So lucky to catch him as he's playing a game, or him or her. Lucky to catch them, I suppose, as I'm pretty sure PanzerGrenadierAngreifen is actually like identifies as male. But anyway, yeah. Lucky to catch them out on the ladder this morning. Looking forward to seeing exactly what they're going to be doing here on Faymanville approach. Got to cast some great games yesterday, very much hoping to get something of that flavour today. OKW, now I'm trying to remember, because I did actually read the patch notes about a week ago, and I'm trying to remember, I think the OKW Panzer IV got changed to be, so its target size is a little smaller, making it slightly more difficult to hit at sort of mid-range with sort of Zis guns and pretty much, well, you know, all the stuff. That was a change which all medium tanks, all generalist medium tanks had, so I'm pretty sure it applied also to the OKW Panzer IV. Let's have a look at the commanders that Angreifen's rolling with. So that's Recon Company, right? That's the Greyhound guy. Yep. We've got... Ooh, is that Airborne Geezer? It is Airborne Company there. And dude on the right who his name evades me. Mechanized Company. There we go. So what do you get for Mechanized Company again? Wow, see, my knowledge of the USF is like just super weak. So... just refreshing my memory about exactly what these guys get. Okay, very interesting. And for the OKW player, it looks like we've got the Fortification Doctrine, the Panzer, or the Elite Armored Doctrine, and the Feuersturm Doctrine. So that's cool. It's nice to see Feuersturm having a little bit of a resurgence in the meta, as we're going to have our first engagement, our first proper big fight here involving most of the units from both teams. These Volksgrenadiers in a pretty rough position. They're going to have to take cover for now. They might be able to get into this building and contribute to the fight. Meanwhile, it's like 10 Volks against 14 Riflemen and 4 Rear Esh. So that's pretty rough. Storm Pioneers, though, going to join from the west flank here. But it looks like PanzerGrenadierAngreifen going to just nicely line up his infantry in good cover. This is sensible trading, and he is basically picking up a pretty good value engagement here. The Volksgrenadiers are beginning to thin out. The returns are getting slimmer and slimmer for our Axis player here. Finally, a couple of Riflemen do start going down, but you can feel the texture of this fight. Now, the Storm Pioneers are going to break cover. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, you see the focus fire comes down pretty quickly there, and that's gonna... These Storm Pioneers actually closing the distance to mid-range, pretty important. That's an incendiary grenade, comes down off the Volks, but it's fairly ineffective. Kanji here just scrambling to try and find some sort of value in this fight. Able in the end to trade out a lot better than I thought, actually. When we come down to it, we're now at 10 Riflemen against, what, 7 Volksgrenadiers left in the fight. So a little bit closer than I thought that one was going to be. Lieutenant will be the tech of choice, as we're pretty used to seeing most of the time out of American players, so that's fairly standard stuff. But Battle Gripper HQ will be the tech here out of Kanji, and I feel that that is the rarer of the opening game tech that we see from Overcommand. Usually mechanized regiment is the one that we see. I would say sort of maybe 2-to-1 or maybe 3-to-1 games. Sort of, so that's what, a 75% prevalence, something like that. Is my gut feeling, maybe 66%. Just because I think, you know, the Panzer II and the Puma are such dynamic options. You really feel the impact of those units when they hit the front. Whereas the Battle Gripper HQ, it's less obvious. Its benefits are less pronounced. Yeah, you can research medics. Yeah, you can build the Lig. Yeah, you can build the AA half track. But on average, I would say in most games, those things feel less impactful than a Panzer II Lukes. So, yeah, it's going to be Battle Gripper HQ tech. Looks like off the back of taking that lovely fight in mid, most of the map is going to be turning red here as PanzerGrenadierAngreifen spreads his units out. He's going to be helping himself to double fuel here. And, wow, actually, the OKW player presently receiving income from just a handful of points here, just 2 until this point here gets connected. So, yep, things definitely going Angreifen's way in the early stages here. But I suppose we are fairly used to seeing that when it's USF on Faymanville. Just, Faymanville is one of those maps where quite a lot of maps fall into this sort of category in Company of Heroes 2, where you just have sort of mixed light and heavy cover, sort of hedges, fences, anything that sort of feels like sort of like, I don't know, what would it be? The Western Front, like most of the French-feeling maps and the Bocage kind of stuff. It's all like, it all just favours riflemen early on because there's cover everywhere. They can flank up into nice positions. And yeah, these Volksgrenadiers just getting pressed up on. The Garand is fearsome. The rate of fire is intense. Lieutenant gets stuck in here. Will be a 50 cal after the 3/4 ton ambulance for Angreifen. So again, so far so standard. Probably going to be heading into a Stuart thereafter. Kettenwerfer gets mixed into the roster here for Kanji. So that's a little early. I'm guessing Kanji was concerned perhaps about the potential for a Greyhound. Although we are a little early for a Greyhound, so maybe not. Wow, this feels like a really early Kettenwerfer. What is this insurance against? A utility car? Because we're a ways off of a Stuart. Normally, the earliest your opponent could... I mean, I appreciate the American player had double fuel, but normally the earliest your opponent can get a Stuart out is like 7-minute mark or so, and that's if things have gone really well. So, I don't know, this Kettenwerfer just feels a little early to me. Anyway, we are going to see the Axis AA half-track following this Kettenwerfer onto the field, and that's exciting. I would say it's like 1 in 8 games or fewer that we see the OKW player go for the AA half-track, and it's a fun unit. It's a fun unit because it has very pronounced strengths and very pronounced weaknesses, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that generally, if you are designing a game that you want to be interactive, that you want the players to interact with each other, having units that or sort of game objects that have strong weaknesses and sort of strong strengths, strong strengths, let's say pronounced weaknesses and pronounced strengths, is really good, because then that way it opens the way for both players to make meaningful decisions, and that sort of means that the players are basically creating an interactive experience between themselves. You know, when your decisions present your opponent with decisions, then you're creating something together. You know, there's some back and forth to that experience. Whereas if you just have units that are like blandly powerful, then there's much less room for interactivity. And as far as I can tell, this extends beyond RTS. Like another game that I play quite a lot is Magic the Gathering. And like again, I've noticed in that context, when things are just sort of like powerful regardless of context, and they just do their thing regardless of what else is happening in the game, then they tend to be a lot less interesting than cards that have much more of a sort of risk-reward, strong and weak sort of interplay element to them. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is I like the AA half-track because it's a very powerful unit, which is also has some strong counters and is quite fragile. So it makes for exciting gameplay. It's exciting to use, it's exciting to watch. I wish we saw it a little bit more often. Anyway, it's going to get set up in a reasonable position here. Down a little bit on health. I think it got shot up by the 50 cal. It's proceeding to still be getting shot up by the 50 cal. We're using AP ammo. We are using AP ammo. So that's how come the damage so severe against the AA half-track. And that is actually more or less going to counter the effectiveness of this half-track. I mean, he's sort of kiting with it, but it's a difficult unit to kite with on account of its setup and teardown time. The 50 cal getting set up here in a reasonable position, yeah, continuing to load fire in. Kanji feels forced to use the munitions on the smoke there, and that's not the best start to the game that you'd want for an AA half-track, of course. Not really finding particularly a lot of value, killing 3 or 4 models and then having to spend munitions to exfiltrate safely. Now it's going to need to repair for a while. The Storm Pioneers are shot up, so it's going to be a little bit before that one's back on the field. Now Volksgrenadiers feel like they're being outclassed. A nice incendiary comes down here, and Angreifen pretty quick to pull his men out of the fire, though. MG34 now mixed into the roster for our OKW player, as we've got combat basically all the way across the middle of the map here. So I'm going to try and keep it all in camera here. Looks like M1 AT gun gets added in as a measure of additional anti-vehicular protection for our American player, and that basically shuts the door fairly hard on this AA half-track. I don't suspect that we'll see it do very well moving forwards, but we'll see. I could be wrong. Airborne Doctrine gets picked, and that's the sound of a para-dropped AT gun coming in. So actually that's the second one that's come in, right? Because we have no captain. So yeah, he's using Airborne here as a way to access the M1 anti-tank gun without having to go into captain tech. So that's nice. We'll see if he decides to get any other value out of this commander. Light gun going to get mixed into the roster here. Goodness me, this has been an action-packed, well-balanced game so far. These two players both given as good as they're getting. But it has so far just about been Angreifen and the US forces who've been getting the better edge of most of these exchanges. I say most of these exchanges. AA half-track manages to find a sort of rearward position here where it's able to fire. Where is the M1 anti-tank gun at the moment? Okay, so he still hasn't manned the second M1, and the first M1 is just coming out onto the field now. Whoa, the half-track comes forwards a little bit, possibly a bit risky. It's getting some good damage in. The arc on this is 50 cal, isn't actually covering it, so AP ammo is probably not going to get used. It only costs 15. Wow, that seems super cool. So there we go. Now the M1 is set up. So Veterancy 1 comes down on the smoke on the flak half track, so that means it can use its smoke much more readily. It reduces the cost to what, 15 or something. Yeah, 15 is a pretty good price there. And Kanji kind of stabilizing to a large extent. I mean, able to maintain control over one fuel point, able to maintain control over one victory point for a large swathe of some fairly punishing gameplay there is nice stuff. The scoreline differential opening up a little bit, but not as bad as it might look as we're kind of coming up to the 12-minute mark in a little bit here. Resource differential also has not been as bad as it might have been with the way the fights have looked here. So Kanji doing everything they need to set themselves up with a great chance of being able to stabilize behind some sort of Axis nasty armor in the sort of late mid game. Major tech has been researched here, and with the major is on the field, so the American player has their tech tree more or less fully unlocked. Unlikely that we'll see Captain taken when you already have access to the AT gun here. Now let's have a look at this light gun. So already on its way, having gotten some nice hits actually. 1 kill and half a level of veterancy that's relatively quickly that's come onto the light gun here. Taking shots at some pinned clustered riflemen. There we go, getting some good damage actually. So this light gun actually off to a really good start. And what do we get at Vet 1? Increases the range of smoke. That's not great. Huh. You know what? The veterancy on the light just feels really underwhelming, doesn't it? Having just read it through. I mean, although it might look underwhelming, it might have in game it might feel very powerful. Though we'll have to see. The community balance team knows a lot better than I do what's good for the game. So, STG is beginning to appear on these Volks, and Kanji doing a good job of sending units down the flanks. You can see he's making progress even while he's not actually being able to dislodge the American position in mid. Although I say that, here's actually the American position, and Angreifen here has to spend a moment to just fall back to the ambulance, repair, heal his units, get back on the field, and Kanji now actually finally able to breathe some fresh air on the map. Gets the light gun into a nice position, needs to repair the AA half-track. Kettenwerfer comes up into a nice position as well, although we know that there's no vehicle yet for the American forces. All of that fuel being channeled straight into rapid-ish major tech, opting to skip the Stuart to that end. So Schwerpanzer HQ is done. Oh, sorry, is doing. Will be done shortly. There's enough fuel for Panzerorth after that, but not enough fuel for a vehicle then. So we're a little ways away from a Panzer IV or some kind of Axis vehicle. Triple cap gets established here for Kanji. Nicely done, actually. That was rapidly established. I didn't quite clock that. So he's actually basically caught up in the scoreline. Nice work here. And Angreifen in a spot of bother. Needs to get out on the map. The AA half-track making life hard. And I love the micro. I'm loving the style on this AA half-track. He's bobbing and weaving. He keeps repositioning it, using it only at a maximum range, and then repositioning it to keep it safe from the M1 anti-tank guns. And it's a rare AA half-track we see survive this long against 2 M1ATs that have been bought so early. So I gotta say, credit where credit's due. Kanji doing a really good job of keeping the AA half-track not just alive, but being productive. 8 kills, 2 stars of veterancy. Not doing too bad. So finally the west flank falls here for Kanji, and Angreifen is able to break out, grabs himself a VP. He will be grabbing a fuel and munition point momentarily, so definitely able to stabilize from what was, it turns out, a momentary setback inflicted by Kanji. And wow, I mean, look at the top right, look at the top left. Allied rosters always look so scary, particularly USF rosters at this stage in the game. Riflemen with good weapons, obviously BARs, weapon rack research has finished, BARs popping up on these infantry. Just vastly out-muscling this Axis force here. But somehow Kanji is staying in this. Wow, the AA half-track just breaks 2 squads here on the western flank. Storm Pioneers here in support. They're going to re-grab. Looks like he's prioritizing the victory point. Ooh, I like it. Well, he's playing for keeps. So that's cool. That's cool. I would love it if he could just... I don't know. I feel like he needs more core infantry, does Kanji. This is a lot of stuff. Maybe another machine gun or something. Just something to control all of this American infantry. It's rough times out there. Light gun is going to be putting down smoke in mid here. This is so nice. It's nice to see a light gun getting off to a decent start in a game. So that's going to obscure the vision of this 50 cal. Sherman on the queue, of course. That one's going to be on the battlefield momentarily. There is one Kettenwerfer, but that's not going to cut the mustard. So Kanji actually probably going to be priced into... Actually, look at this. Going for that second Kettenwerfer right on cue. That is... excellent game sense. He knows, he's clearly identified. He's not seen any fuel spending in terms of units, really, from his opponent, only teching. So, knows... Wow, that lag shot! Just taking off, like, maybe 2/3 of the health of that rifleman unit. Wow, that boosted the veterancy substantially! Oh my god, this lag is on fire! It's rare that I say that. He's going to pick up a rifleman squad off the back of 2 very nice lag hits. Really nice stuff there. Sherman, though, rolling onto the front, going to announce its presence with an HE shell. Storm Pioneer is going to have to give way. Volksgrenadiers might try for a Faust here. That Sherman comes in range, although it won't break the engine. Oh god, they get crushed. That's rough. And now will it be a squad wipe? Okay, the Volksgrenadier sneaks away. Bit lucky there for Kanji. Bit lucky. But these things happen. Company of Heroes is not a RNG-free game. Plenty of RNG ahoy in this one. So, looks like the AA half-track going to sneak away here as well. Kanji just walking the tightrope here, somehow keeping everything alive against a really huge and quite scary, sort of rapidly sophisticated American army here. That Sherman came out pretty quick, and Angreifen, like, just, I can't see him making any mistakes in these fights, you know. So that Kanji finds themselves here at the 17-minute mark in the game with this kind of force here. Probably about to be able to take a Panzer IV if he wants, or could save for something else. I mean, this is a relatively comfortable position, given that you're playing against USF, on, you know, Angreifen no less. Decent field control, putting on pressure. The light gun actually kind of looking really good. Up to 2 stars of veterancy now, so that enables barrages to be fired faster. But only smoke barrages, okay. Oh, that's still pretty cool. Why can't I hear an MG34? Ah. It was falling back. Okay, I thought I heard an MG34, but anyway. Alright, so Angreifen pretty much with everything to do here. Needs to re-establish a foothold along the center line of the map. Sherman here smashing Volks. Potential of a squad wipe on these wounded Volks. Kettenwerfer is here to cover them, but it is not in time. 2 Kettenwerfers, though, now with the Sherman in arc. The Sherman is going to have to limp back wounded. But losing the Volksgrenadiers is crucial. Those ones will have to be replaced. And they had veterancy and STGs. They were like 4-star, I believe. So that is a bitter loss. Finally, Angreifen able to materially damage the roster of Kanji's Axis forces. AA half-track going to be policing the flank here. Gets set up. Going to start dealing damage, but 2 AT guns getting set up. That could put a rapid end to that one. And in just a few seconds here, a rapid swing of events. Now look at the top right. Now look at the top left. It's 68 supply over 46. A Panzer IV is on the way, and it is desperately needed. What is also desperately needed is just, I mean, if you discount the weapon teams here, we're looking at basically just 3 squads of core infantry against lieutenant, paratrooper, rifleman. Actually, you know what? Okay, so that's really only 4 squads of core infantry. All right. Ooh, Major going to sneak away. So there's going to be a commander pick here, and it's going to be fortification doctrine. Okay, Kanji. All right. So interesting stuff. Here comes the Panzer IV. So finally, Axis armor has arrived. The spooky sort of Halloween skins present on these this Axis armor. So are we going to see a Pack 43? That's what I want to know. You know, actually, the Pack 43 and the Lef 18 are both quite good on this map. So that's interesting stuff. You have to be a bit careful. The rocket strafe, of course, Kanji will know that that's available. well, just constant fighting going on pretty much all over the map at the moment. Oops, god damn this mouse. Panzer IV gonna announce its presence here. MG42 about to finish up on that one. Gonna shove this 50 cal out of the hood. M1 AT guns getting a little unlucky there. One bounce, one pen. That's probably about on for that sort of range, to be honest. I don't think that's too unlucky. Sherman is repaired, and you can see Angreifen just slowly closing the noose, not overextending, just making progress here. Owns the middle line of the map, so obviously that's crucial. Going to be looking to take double fuel here. What was that just hit the Sherman? What did I just miss? How did the Sherman get its engine? Did it just hit some mines? Perhaps it hit some mines. So, alright, I want to see what we're taking this tech for. Whoa, Obersoldaten joined the roster. Okay, I like this. Oh, he doesn't have the, okay, he's about to have the munitions for the, how much is it? Oh my god, it's 80. I mean, I know it's an amazingly powerful upgrade, but I thought it was like 60. Okay then. Well, Obersoldaten are still here, and if you can babysit that unit and make sure they don't die, then that's the kind of unit that can scale really well and counter like a lot of this American stuff. Feeding themselves into the arc of a 50 cal is not really what they want to do, though. The Ligue puts down smoke over here, but it's really this... oh, it's an MG34. Oh god, he lost one of his MG34s and had to rebuy. Okay, I didn't realize that. Wow. So Angreifen getting additional value on the field that I hadn't spotted. Obersoldaten are sent packing, but that's okay. They didn't really sustain too much damage. And this light gun just continuing to be annoying. Probably well on its way to... well, somewhat on its way to getting a 3rd star of veterancy. Nice stuff, though. Axis infantry in West is going to get policed by the American medium tank. So this one will also have been buffed in regards to its target size and received accuracy sort of stuff. Two Kettenwerfer's going to scroll across to this flank, but the Sherman has now slunk away. And we're getting up to a reasonable amount of fuel, so what is the fuel spending plan for our two players here? Well, they're going to show their hands in the next couple of minutes. Scoreline differential, as you can hear, beginning to open up once again. About 90 tickets in it for now. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen in the ascendancy once again, but Kanji far from beaten. Wow, and this game has been all business. Constant fighting, constant high-level play, constant brutal exchanges. Obersoldaten now with the MG34. That's when they start really raining death upon allied units. This heavy cover, though, providing so much damage reduction for those echelons. Now the light gun begins to find this MG34 out here. God damn, look at the accuracy this light gun is rolling with this game. There's some beautiful hits coming through. So why have we taken this doctrine, eh? I mean, he definitely picked it with something in mind, but we're not seeing anything yet. So we've got our first tank battle here as finally the Panzer IV finds the Sherman. Rakettenwerfer here in support means that the Sherman will have to scurry away. The Panzer, well advised to back away, doesn't want to run into the two AT guns that he knows are out there somewhere. Indeed, if I select Angreifen, and we can see it from his point of view, the two AT guns are about here, but he's just playing it safe. He knows that they're out there somewhere. Panzer IV, instead of coming out forward, is going to opt to sort of scroll around this line of sight blocker, taking a safe route, and then as soon as those forces disappear, he halts it. So this is just a nice holding position for now for the Panzer IV. Now that it's lost its flanking infantry, though, probably, yep, and immediately he moves it out of there. This Kanji player definitely knows what they're up to. Everything I'm seeing from both of these two players making abundant sense. Rifleman in a building here will probably deny those Obersoldaten. I can hear something heavy coming down. The Ligue it achieved its 3rd star of veterancy, but it gets wiped out by some kind of call-in. Was that the major barrage? I have to assume that was the major barrage. I don't know. The major seems like he's a... The major barrage is never normally that accurate, though. Well, I don't know. I guess that had to have been the major barrage. Wow. Volksgrenadiers are going to recruit that light gun, but the veterancy reset. That's nice work there for Angreifen. Jackson was the fuel spending of choice, and that makes a lot of sense. Everything else in this game is going great for PanzerGrenadier. All he really needs is insurance against some serious Axis armor, and that the Jackson definitely represents. Also, this means that the Panzer IV is kind of almost living on borrowed time now. That is a lot of AT resources that the Angreifen now possesses. Sherman going to come in here, just put on a little bit of pressure, but wants to poke on in, see if it can find any targets of opportunity. So yeah, pineapple package finishing up. We've also got 1919 LMGs popping up on the paratroops, so some pretty nasty stuff. Panzer IV is going to be used to police some American infantry who were making advances in the west flank, and that seems like a pretty good use of the Panzer IV for now. The AT gun's going to rotate to face that direction. The Jackson for now also going to be transitioning into that area of the map, using the backfield route here. American forces skirmishing with all kinds of Axis units here in mid, as Kanji desperately trying to contest control of these victory points. The scoreline now becoming an issue. 218, 217 tickets now for the Axis player, under 386 for PanzerGrenadier, so that's pretty nasty stuff. The Panzer IV here getting caught to some extent by the Jackson. Jackson feeling confident, wants to come in for a look. Gonna get another shot here. Finds it, so that's very nice. Panzer living on borrowed time, and he's out of there. These AT guns masterfully set up and waiting for the Panzer IV to reveal itself as it fled the Jackson, and that may be the killing blow. That could be the death knell. That represents a significant swing in power, and Kanji right now doesn't really have the. I mean, they could they could replace the Panzer IV. But I don't really see the utility in that. I mean, that Panzer IV was not being super profitable. There's so many AT resources out there for the American player. I feel like, what, stuck as a fuss, although we don't have mechanized regiment, so it ain't going to be that. I don't know. We're in a rough spot here. We're in a rough spot for Kanji. I mean, he actually has fuel to spend, but what are you going to spend it on? Maybe a Jagdpanzer or something? I don't know. I just don't know. This is a rough game. Ooh. Certainly looks pretty nasty now. And what's PanzerGrenadierAngreifen lost this game? Like, one rifleman squad? Not bad. So Kanji here stabilizing for a moment. And the Sherman finally gets around to the back of the MG. I don't know, actually, he's kind of getting roasted up by a little bit of Kettenwerfers here. Maybe he only needs one more hit. Should get one more shot. Nope, it's going to escape. Wow, nicely done by Angreifen. Faust could come down, though. God, that's the latest Faust model. Does get the hit, so the engine is damaged, but that Sherman is substantially safe now. And, wow, actually, just 4 American squads caught under the arc of this LMG. That is rough. So finally something going Kanji's way. Obersoldaten here in support. Kettenwerfer just desperately lunging forwards, looking for the Sherman. That's a frangible smoke grenade coming down off of the... no, sorry, it's a Bundaroo grenade. So brutal amounts of kills. 2 stars of veterancy up on these Obersoldaten. So that's one thing that's going Kanji's way. And Obersoldaten are one of those units which, like, the way they feel, the sort of texture of the unit changes dramatically with veterancy. A Vet 0 Obersoldaten squad is nasty. A Vet 3, 4 Obersoldaten squad is like a very real problem. Like, by itself, they will just kill American squads, like, so quickly. Oh, dearie me. Gonna get the squad wipe on the Major here, so something at least. Crumbs from the table for Kanji here. And, I'm just curious, but is he gonna go for KT? I mean, this is a great map for a KT. Again, it's one of the smaller maps, so the KT's speed disadvantage is, like, substantially ameliorated. Additional Sherman going to be here for PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, so then he'll have the Jackson and 2 Shermans. That's fine. He didn't lose that Sherman, did he? No, it's still repairing. Cool. So, okay. Kanji manages to stop the bleed for this next phase of play, though, for a second anyway. So that's the most important thing. Still has a fuel connected, so... And, I mean, whilst we did lose the Panzer IV and things started looking a bit grim, it's going to be a Panther. Okay. Yeah, whilst things did look a bit grim, Kanji very much in this game. I am skeptical about this Panther, to be honest. Panthers are amazing units. They're definitely one of the best tanks in the game, objectively. But when you're taking on 2 M1 anti-tank guns, a Jackson, and 2 Shermans, you know, even the supreme maneuverability and very good armor on the Panther tank is just you can still lose that Panther tank in just a couple of seconds with that many anti-tank things sort of hunting for it. So, I mean, the reason I'm skeptical is because this Panther in some ways just represents the perfect prize for all these American AT resources to be hunting. If it weren't for a Panther on this roster, the Jackson and the 2 M1 AT guns basically count for nothing. So in a way, I don't mind waiting to go for KT if you're Kanji. But Kanji knows better than me. The Panther is a very powerful unit, a bit like Obersoldaten. If you look after it and keep it going, then it does scale very, very well once it starts getting veterancy. Speaking of Obersoldaten, we're actually up to 2 squads of those now, so this Axis roster is starting to look really nasty. And actually, the Major has been lost, and so have the paratroops somewhere. Yeah, I think so a couple of... perhaps even the Lieutenant here. No, Lieutenant's going to sneak away, but Kanji able to draw blood against Angreifen at a time in the game when Angreifen can ill afford to do so. You know, safe to say Angreifen has had the upper hand for like the last 10 or 12 minutes of the game, and that dynamic may be beginning to change. I mean, losing core infantry, we've seen it time and time again. That is how you lose in the sort of late mid-game and the late game, because it's just so hard to replace those units. And, you know, we've lost a couple of core infantry squads, we've lost a couple of officers, or 1 officer, and now we're up to 2 squads of Obersoldaten, which is a really eye-watering proposition for Allied infantry to have to be fighting into. Nice smoke here from the Leig, which has just been consistently... I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Leig in this particular game, in this sample of 1, the Leig gun has looked great. It's just looked really nice. How much is a Leig gun these days? Yeah, it's only for 270. That has been worth. 270. Yeah, that is perfectly priced now. I have a good feeling about light guns again. It's been a while since I've seen a light gun do well in a game, but this one is convincing me. I mean, essentially, it is functioning just really similarly to a regular mortar squad, which is, in my opinion, like the best infantry-based indirect fire piece in the game. Like the Soviets, the Americans, and the Wehrmacht, who all just have access to a basic mortar squad. Like that's all you want. 240 manpower does the job, and that is all you really want in a infantry squad indirect fire platform. You know. Anything beyond that is usually just overkill and doesn't actually improve the unit. Like the 120mm tubes, they are fun, but they ain't really worth it these days. And you know, the light gun in its previous form, where it cost like 330 and was trying to be a mortar but better, it was just like, but we really just want a mortar. Anyway, enough moaning about that. I'm moaning about days gone by. Time to let the past be the past. Do not let your grudges last. We ain't dwarves out here.
Crew, get ready.
All right, so. The Panther is out. Yet to see it really do anything super decisive, but it's getting its way towards some veterancy. 2 stars, of course, probably the most pivotal amount of veterancy to get, because that's when it gets the substantial defensive buff provided by the armoured skirts. And at that point, the Panther's sort of key advantage, which is that it's quite difficult to kill, becomes even more exaggerated, and then you can really get some value out of it. Massive fight going on here. Large infantry roster for both teams, but the machine gun is going to be the difference maker here. Pinning down the opening wave, forcing back the anti-tank resources. Once they're forced back, now the Shermans can come in, clear out the rest of the sporting infantry. The Obersoldaten are the last ones holding the line, taking a terrible toll on these American forces, but they will be powerless against these Shermans. And they're just going to stay for as long as they can, but they have to respect the Shermans. Panthers now beginning to chip in for value from the back, and we've got a Pack 43 being constructed in mid, so Kanji really does want to hold this position. Okay, so the Pack 43 finishes. That is going to change the dynamic of this game considerably. Gets scouted more or less immediately. Pineapples can be thrown off of this lieutenant to start softening up the Pack 43, but he's pinned down. Okay, Pineapple comes through. Nicely done. Bonk. There we go. Now the Pack 4... Whoa, the Panther is going to die. Yep, that's a Panther kill. Man, M1 anti-tank guns are quite good. They've just got sick rate of fire. So, alright, losing the Panther there, I mean, everything else was okay up until that point, but losing the Panther is, like... That's really bad. And now the Pak-43 got scouted, and I feel like Kanji just got a tiny bit unlucky there. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen just pushed in and caught the... If the Pak-43 was finished 10 seconds earlier, that fight looks completely different, obviously. But that ain't the timeline we're living in. This light gun just going on to get more and more kills and to get more and more value, though. Up to 2 stars again. And here comes the major barrage. That should put an end to the Pak-43. Now, I understand that this is a great position to have a Pak-43 in, like, because if you look on the TAC map, like, from here you command, like, more or less this area with the Pak-43, so you kind of have the American in their base, or at least you can start shelling their tanks, like, pretty much as soon as they're rolling out of the doorstep of their base. That's powerful, I grant you that. But are you realistically going to hold on to a Pak-43 in this position? I just don't think so, man. Build it somewhere where it's, like, easier to defend. Like, I mean, for example, I don't know, here or here. Because from here, you are still commanding most of the middle of the map. You still look after the victory point. You still basically make it impossible for American armor to pursue your armor. But from here, you actually have a realistic chance of stopping American units getting on top of it. And once American units get near your Pak-43, as we've seen, it just dies. American units just have a load of explosive stuff they can lob in, and that will beat a Pak-43. So, you know, Kanji here, definitely a better player than I, and maybe there is a really good reason for building it here. But I just feel like it was so ambitious in the context of this game to put that there. Oh no, now the Shermans are just going to overrun, and Greifen senses blood in the water. This is a very clustered target. And the Shermans here... going for game-ending damage. Every shell they cast into here. This is all Axis squads on their last pixels of health. So what did we lose there? Oh my god. He just lost like so many units. He lost the light gun. He lost both of the Rakettenwerfers. They can be recruited, I believe, so the veterancy has just been lost. So but that's a lot of manpower, which Kanji doesn't want to have to pay for. He lost what? Hit one of his Volk squads as well, and kind of the Panther a little bit earlier. Okay, that's rough, obviously. That is rough. Somehow the Obersoldaten all survived. That's great. What is this? Oh my god, the Jackson just... Oh my god, the Jackson actually wants the Schwerpanzer HQ. Okay, he has to give up. You're not going to get that. But a nice try there, realizing that the Panzer HQ is quite low. That would have been definitely... I feel like the door would have been firmly slammed on Kanji in this game if that building had gone down, but able to keep that one alive somehow. But I mean, 52 supply under 84. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen with enough fuel to buy whatever they want. I mean, sure, we don't quite have the manpower to spend it, but I mean, we're okay for resources, let's put it that way. And yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a super tough time now for Kanji as we move on in this game. It's difficult to imagine a world in which Kanji is able to retrieve this one. But Kanji does still have 2 squads of Obersoldaten. Kanji does still have 2 Rakettenwerfers. Those units are killy enough to deal with some elements of this American composition in isolation. Going to lose the 5-star MG 34 there. It's pretty terrible. Panzer IV, a sign of desperation. And Kanji's map presence has been whittled down to almost nothing. And the MG-34 even gets salvaged by American forces. They're going to hoist that thing away back to the American base, ready to start slaying Germans. And safe to say, the writing's substantially on the wall for this game. And Greifen masterfully navigating a very complex game against a very savvy and alert opponent who really hasn't made any massive mistakes. I'm a little skeptical about the positioning of the Pak-43, but even that there were pros and cons. You know, there's a conversation to be had about that placement. You can't just say that was a mistake. You know, there was a plan there. It was an idea. I can see how, with 10 seconds more time, we're living in a totally different game. However, oh god, putting it in that position was a risk, and the risk did translate. So that's why we are now living in this world where Shermans are just going to be steamrollering, American infantry steamrollering. A 50 cal there, some sort of squad did get taken out. Obersoldaten are pretty nasty. But this is a lot of Shermans. Panzer IV is going to be here just to try and hold on, but all of the squads die. And that will be game. Kanji stubbornly staying in this one, but I mean, this is just over. You don't come back from that. Manages to get a Sherman. That's nice. Nice to get on your way out the door. Rocket strafe comes down though, this Panzer IV. Not long for this world. Sherman will... Hey, he gets the ambulance as well. He's just going for maximum damage on his way out the door here as Kanji. And there goes the Panzer IV. Oh god, it's abandoned. You can go ahead and leave now. That's so funny, it's been abandoned. Great game there, great game, and I feel like I've given this game enough analysis in the closing moments that we don't really need to go back and deconstruct very much. Just a masterful show from PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, making nearly no mistakes as far as I could see. Clearly came in with a plan. The plan was tech into major, get Sherman rapidly, get Jackson behind Sherman, and then just play sensibly. Lovely killer instinct. Angreifen knowing exactly when to pounce in, you know, when the scales were substantially tipped in his favour. He was like, you know what, even if I lose a Sherman, it's fine because I can just inflict game-ending damage by coming in with these Shermans and rinsing the Axis infantry on its fallback path and then in the base. And just a fantastic... I'm just impressed. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen there looking some of the strongest I've ever seen him look against a very... I mean... that was a good opponent, so hey, looks like we got a rematch. Let's get straight in there. I mean, that was just a fantastic display, and it is going to be a straight rematch. Angreifen as US and Kanji once again as OKW. So fantastic, excellent. I'm definitely hopping into this. I'm just going to go and grab myself a drink of water because I've neglected to get one. I will be right back. Just bear with me. Excellent. Straight in to game 2 here between PanzerGrenadierAngreifen and Kanji. Kanji here spawning on Lost Glider has the OKW pieces here in the south. Coming off of, I mean, I would call it a rough loss, but I mean, it was a brilliant game. And I mean, there's a couple of different ways you can take a loss like that as an RTS player. Some players find it really frustrating to have essentially played more or less, not a perfect game, but a very good game. And still lost so hard, to be honest. You know, there are some times where you're just like, wow, you know, I had a plan and I executed my plan correctly and I got the game to a place where I felt comfortable later on in the game and I felt, you know, established. And then without really making any major blunders, except perhaps the placement of that Pak 43, losing so very, very hard, sometimes it can feel frustrating, you know, because in a game like that, it's actually quite difficult to point to one thing that you could have done differently and say, hey, you know what, that's what I've learned from this game. Sometimes you just gotta accept that the other guy was really on their game and there was just actually nothing you could have done in those circumstances. And that's a really tough feeling. But then again, some players, rather than thinking that's difficult, they're like, hey, you know what? I played really well. It didn't pan out my way. There wasn't really very much I could have done differently. So let's just do the same in the next game, and hopefully it'll result in a win. Yeah, some players, when you lose those games where it really feels like it was kind of out of your hands, some players take that really badly. Other players, it's just like water off a duck's back. So they're like, hey, I couldn't have helped it, right? And I don't know, I'm making it sound like Kanji was completely agentless, like had no agency in that last game, and that's absolutely not true. There are a million decisions they could have made differently, and obviously they're a lot better at this game than I am, so whilst I'm sitting here going, besides the Pak 43 placement, I can't think of anything that Kanji could have done better. Kanji is probably thinking like there's like 12 things that they could have done better, you know, they just have the extra game sense that I do not. And spawning in the north, because I haven't introduced them yet, PanzerGrenadierAngreifen playing as the American forces. Alright, there we go. Okay, so Lost Glider. So this is one of the more idiosyncratic maps on the map at the moment. It's not it has less in common with most of the other maps in the pool, and it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit broader. There are some cheesy things you can do on this map because of where certain structures are placed on the map, although not usually with OKW or USF. Most of the cheese I see on this map is, as you might expect, from Soviets. So, so let's pay attention here as these two players make their opening picks, and we'll see whether they're going to stick to more or less principally the same plan as they did in the previous game, or whether they're going to opt to change things up here, knowing what they now know, having gained the data, having read into the information they have gained from the previous game just now. It's going to be Lieutenant Tech again here for Angreifen. And if I recall, the pick of Airborne Company came down just a little way after Lieutenant Tech. I think it was after the 50 cal, to get a pretty early M1AT gun. And I mean, let's think about that commander pick for a little bit. I would say, I mean, he did call in paratroopers, and they didn't do nothing. So that's another piece of value he got. And he did call in a P-47 rocket strafe, although at that point the game was basically over. So it's fair to say that most of the benefit that PanzerGrenadierAngreifen leveraged out of the Airborne Company commander was access to the M1 anti-tank guns at an early stage, despite going Lieutenant Tech. And that might not seem like very much, but of course it actually is huge. You're just not... You just don't normally have M1 anti-tank guns at that timing when you've gone for Lieutenant openers. And those M1 anti-tank guns sort of pretty much defined the texture of the game. They kept the AA half-track substantially under wraps. They made life absolutely hell for the Panther, finally even killing it. I mean, American forces are typically characterized by having very good anti-infantry. Most American units just put out enough anti-infantry damage that... Oh my goodness. My goodness, that was a bit too close. Yeah, most American units just put out enough anti-infantry damage, especially American infantry units. But you can be found lacking for anti-tank with American forces. You never really want to go for Captain Tech because I mean, just the rest of the stuff you get from Captain Tech is kind of a bit meh. I mean, it's okay through some phases of the early and mid game, but it's not really useful in late game compositions. Like, you don't use the AA half track or the utility car in late game compositions. Actually, wait. I know American forces so badly. Actually, is it the lieutenant who gives you the utility car? It is, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So what does the captain actually give you? Oh, the pack howitzer. Ah, yeah, that's the one I forgot about. Yeah, I mean, you can forget about the pack howitzer. Who wants to use that? So yeah, I mean, Captain Tech is something it's basically like M1 anti-tank gun tax. So to be able to access the M1 anti-tank gun without having to worry about that, and then go into, you know, nicely timed Major Tech and nicely timed Shermans and then Jacksons, I mean, we've seen that is a game-winning approach. So yeah, Angreifen just demonstrating how important just the ability to call in M1 anti-tank guns is on the Airborne Company. Interesting stuff. It's just interesting to see starkly in that last game just how valuable that is. So, we continue to have exchanges along the midline of the map. Nice little ticket lead opening up in the early stages of this game for the OKW player, getting ahead by 90 tickets at the sort of before the 7-minute mark against USF. No mean feat. Going to provide you a nice little cushion as this game moves forwards. And Volks Grenadiers and Storm Pioneers doing quite well against mostly just riflemen across the map. We've got a 50 cal now coming out. It's going to be Battle Gripper Tech again here for Kanji. So far it looks like both of these two players leaning into the same teching route and approach to unit composition that we saw in the previous game. And it will be a light gun out of this Battle Gripper HQ. Very interesting. So even on a bigger map, where the light gun will not be able to be firing as continuously, and it will not be able to get smoke into the relevant places in every engagement. Because this map is so much bigger, the light gun's range is going to be much more limiting. It will really only be able to cover mid, west, or east, rather than being able to be in mid and still reach west or east with its shells. But still, opting to go for the light gun here. So Kanji clearly placing quite a premium in terms of valuing that unit. And based on its performance in the last game, I'm okay with that. We'll have to see whether it's able to be as successful on a much bigger map, though. So, okay, here comes the light gun. And obviously this is going to help counter the 50 cal to some extent. The smoke is good, and even just the barrage, obviously quite good against weapon teams. Light gun going to get set up and start taking some shots here into the... That's a nice clustered target. Angreifen on top of the micro, though, moving even just to dodge a single light shell. So nice. You can see Angreifen really has, you know, whatever Angreifen's warm-up ritual is, whatever it is that Angreifen does to get into optimal RTS Company of Heroes 2 playing gear, you can tell that they've done whatever it is this morning. I would say, I mean, the cliche is always like, he's had his coffee, but coffee's not for everyone, and I'm like low-key convinced that coffee is actually super bad for the human race in general. I mean, not super bad, I'm overstating that. It's just most people I know who drink coffee on the regs, it's clearly not good. Like, it's just not good. And coffee's one of those ones like alcohol that like everyone's so used to it being around, it's become ingrained in human culture that no one questions it. No one questions it at all, you know? It's just the invisible drug. Okay, so finally we've got a little bit of a difference from last game. Actually, we've got quite a difference, haven't we? Do you remember last game? Kanji actually went for quite an early Rakettenwerfer and it had no target, and so it felt like a bit of a paperweight. Well, this game, PanzerGrenadierAngreifen going to mix it up. Oh god, the Stuart. Oh my god, Angreifen looking like a monster. This is like Von Ivan levels of brutality that we're seeing. Nearly. Okay, not quite Von Ivan levels of brutality, right? The game has gone to like, it's going to reach 11 minutes without a player GGing, let's put it that way. But, I mean, just a subtle adaptation. Still going for Major Tech, but this time definitely buying the Stuart. And I like this really, because he didn't buy a Stuart in the last game, and Kanji did buy a Kettenwerfer, so the Kettenwerfer feels bad. So Kanji makes the adaptation of not getting the Kettenwerfer until after the Lig, but now it turns out that we actually did want the Kettenwerfer before the Lig. You know, no way he could have known. This is just one of those, like, double bluff scenarios. But this is also a nice adaptation to the map. The Stuart is a fast unit. This map is bigger. So the utility of that Stuart is going to be really great because you can use it for policing the flanks, you know, keeping stray infantry squads from making too much progress on your flanks. And it's going to be able to be in more fights because it's a bigger map. Its speed is just a much more relevant factor. When you play on a very small map, fast units are disproportionately disvalued because, like, it doesn't matter if you can get from one side of the map to the other instantly, like so can any unit, like on the smaller maps, you know, Tiger tanks, everything, they can just transition very rapidly.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
So the Stuart already scoring a squad wipe in the early stages of the game. That's nice stuff. Gonna be just ripping its way through Axis infantry as Stuarts are wont to do. MG34 here, not opting to get into the church through the back door. Oh god, that's awkward. Why didn't... I mean, they can access the church through that door, right? Oh, that's harsh. Well, they're going to have to fall back, which means that these Volks are now hung out to dry. And it's just little things here. Little things not going Kanji's way. Now, I hope he's paying attention to these Volks. They're getting really low. Okay, they forced back these riflemen. Now they too need to fall back. There we go. Don't want the Stuart to find them. And a mortar squad getting mixed in here for Angreifen. Okay, so additional adaptation, additional variation from last game. Schwerpanzer HQ gets thrown out here in the west flank. Not too far out, not in a ludicrous position, but very interesting stuff. Ah, come on, mouse. Behave. American mortar squad now moving out onto the field. They've dialed us in, goddammit! Kettenwerfer in a nice building, actually. Why did he pop that out? Was there not an opportunity for another shot there? Oh, he wants to reposition it? We're going to run for this building? You're never going to get him. I feel like there might have been an opportunity for a second shot there. Woo! Dude, mortar squads are just really good. I know the Ligue is okay, but just immediately the mortar just comes out and starts bullseyeing everyone. Like, it's... I'm just convinced that mortar squads, like, every faction should have a mortar squad. Okay, so obviously weapon racks are finished. BA are starting to pop up on these American forces. Obersoldaten once again going to be getting mixed in at a relatively early juncture here by Kanji, placing a high value on the premium Axis anti-infantry squad here. Storm Pioneers in a lovely position, inflicting good damage on the retreating squad there. They know that there's a mortar squad here. It'd be lovely if they could be able to get some damage in on them. Volksgrenadiers possibly, they could be pressuring these riflemen a little harder. Mortar squad's going to be forced to GTFO here. Meanwhile, in the west, massive land grab being made here. Angreifen making great gains. Major tech ought to be coming, I would have thought. Yep, major tech on the way. Panzer Authority has finished. So that's the state of teching here. What was that? Oh, he picks up the 50 cal, and he's literally going to pick up the 50 cal. That's really nice. Finally, Kanji catching a break in these games. Okay, so not only killing a unit, but punting, yeet, that guy away. And going to pick up the 50 cal, as long as the Stuart doesn't overrun. Yeah, there's a Kettenwerfer here, so that'll mean that the Stuart cannot overrun Angreifen. Are we just overrunning here? Oh, this is risky stuff. He's not going to... Whoa, what are we doing with the Stuart? Okay, just about sneaks it out of there. That was some pretty risky stuff there. I was surprised that he decided to keep going after that first rocket hit home from the church. But, yeah, the 50 cal will get stolen here. Obersoldaten caught out, though, and in a terrible way. They'll have to fall back. Thankfully, the gun on the Stuart is destroyed, so those Obersoldaten will survive. Light gun shells. Looks like they're hitting this lieutenant. Up to 2 stars of veterancy already, actually. This Light starting to look a little bit consistent. Okay, so Major is on the field. And looks like that 50 cal is going to get rebought here by Angreifen. It looks like it's Kanji here who's actually going to have the fuel to take an armoured choice at the earlier juncture. I suppose that'll be the difference that going for the Stuart makes compared to the last game. Volksgrenadiers getting a lovely engagement. They are clustered up here though, they're going to have to be careful. Let's make sure you don't get caught under the arc of a 50 cal. Stuart here going to try and cover the retreat of those riflemen. Good damage coming through. Volksgrenadiers looking pretty smart here. They're going to keep lobbing forwards. Combat is going on the western flank. Looks like Storm Pioneer is going to be beating Rear Ash to keep that flank clean of American advance. 50 cal gets set up in a lovely position. These Volksgrenadiers are going to have to GTFO here. No micro from Kanji, not splitting them. Wow, actually he's just... Okay, because he's just trying to DPS the 50 cal down. He gets it. Oh no, he doesn't.
We're losing a capture point.
Interesting stuff. Volksgrenadiers just making nice use of some nice mobile tactics here. Trading out for a lot of damage on their way out the door. Obersoldaten get pinned down in mid. They have to fall back. Where's the Stuart? Okay, so the Stuart now repaired. Panzer IV will be the choice. Am I right to feel a little bit underwhelmed by that? Like, Panzer IV just seems like... Yeah, I mean, this is a medium-sized map. I mean, well, relatively large given the other maps in the pool at the moment. So, yeah, maybe Panzer IV is just fine. I don't know. And I suppose this time you have not seen M1 anti-tank guns out of your opponent, so the Panzer IV is a little bit nicer. There's been no sign of any commander, of course, from PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, and that's because he hasn't chosen one. Oh my god. This Stuart, look at the micro. Look at him go. Oh man, Dota players applauding this kind of creep blocking. So this has been a much more balanced affair, I think. And now here comes the Panzer IV. Sherman is on the queue. We'll see if Angreifen elects to cancel that Sherman or keep it now that he knows for sure that there's a Panzer IV out. Gonna keep it.
Crowds are sniffing around our asses. Tactical point being captured.
Yeah, this game is super well balanced actually. What's going on over here? So Obersoldaten are going to be trying their best to try and make a meaningful advance, but get caught under the arc of just too many American stuff. The machine gun in a lovely position there, and they have to fall back. Meanwhile, combat in mid looks like the Stuart and assorted rifleman, sorry, that's a lieutenant, going to be keeping the middle VP neutral for now. Panzer IV comes through just to try and push back the Stuart. That it will be able to do. It's going to smash through here, I believe, to try and get additional shots into the Stuart. And this may well be a kill on the light tank. We're going to get one more shot at least off the Panzer IV. Here it comes. That's the one. Oh wow, so actually just losing the crew. So the Panzer IV is going to stay for one more shot. There we go, securing the kill. Should be able to get out of here unscathed. And look how different the texture of this is. Okay, now here comes the Sherman. Gets a bounce on its first shot. But as I was just saying, look how different the texture of this game feels without those M1AT guns in this build for PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, and also the later Sherman as well. I appreciate this is a different map. M1AT guns not so great on bigger maps. I mean, they're still absolutely fine. They're still great, but they're not as good as on smaller maps where they barely ever have to move and their range like covers a third of the map and stuff. But yeah, this Panzer IV is just totes the Kingmaker on the field, and we've got an elite armor pick. So we saw the tungsten round come out there. That was the sort of glowing shot that you see from the Panzer IV. So yeah, elite armor doctrine going to be coming through. Fingers crossed for a Storm Tiger. Oi, oi. And yeah, this Panzer IV just handily beating a Sherman. M1AT guns are now popping up. So okay, Airborne was picked just a bit later, and M1AT guns are now being dropped in to help deal with the Panzer IV. The Sherman, just not quite enough, especially when the tungsten rounds are being used on the Panzer. Oh, high explosive anti-tank shells. They are called heat rounds. Sorry, not tungsten rounds. Tungsten rounds, I think, are the USF veteran ability on the M1AT gun is, I believe. Is that right? There we go. Yeah, tungsten rounds. That's the one. So yeah, things actually looking pretty good for Kanji here. But Angreifen is making the adaptations to counter this composition from the Axis player. So, saving up 150 odd fuel, what's the choice going to be? What's the next move? Kanji is going to be able to just have a free choice of whatever unit they kind of want. And there's been no mechanized reg, has there? Alright, so we're not on the KT plan, as far as I can tell. Come on, Storm Tiger. How much are you? 165 and 570. He can afford this pretty soon. I'd love to see a KT in this. Sorry, a Storm Tiger in this game. For those of you who haven't already seen, some years ago I added a video on the channel which is just like a compilation of some of my better Storm Tiger moments on the ladder. So if you fancy seeing loads of stuff getting blown up by some sick Storm Tiger rounds. Oh, we do have a Storm Tiger. If you fancy seeing a load of stuff getting blown up by Storm Tigers, just search my YouTube channel for like Storm Tiger compilation or just Storm Tiger or something. It'll pop up. And hey, if you like that, you'll love my Goliath compilation as well, which is pretty much just me out on the ladder blowing stuff up with Goliaths. I don't know. I just really like blowing stuff up. What can I say? Alright, so we've got a Storm Tiger live in action. Hey, it's been ages. The only thing, perhaps, that could put a bigger smile on my face than an ISE 152. And, here it comes. Does Angreifen see it? Nope. Oh my god, Storm Tigers still glitch out on command points. I thought this had been fixed. Well, it seems that Storm Tigers will still not, like, the rockets will still always explode if they pass over anywhere near the middle of a capture point. That's annoying. So, he's going to have to... Whoa, these can reload and move now? Oh, they're just very slow. Okay. This is a risky place to reload, bro. But anyway. Fighting continues here in mid. 50 cal is on the point, though, and that will hold it for the time being. Panzer IV comes around the flank. 2 stars of veterancy on that one now. Sherman immediately scurries to respect the Axis Panzer. And that it needs to do. Major manages to connect to the Western VP, though. That is huge. If decapping that will start opening up the scoreline again. Okay, now the Storm Tiger is probably reloaded. Yep. So I believe that was the 50 cal. Oh no. Oh, did he lose his light gun? Yeah, he lost his light gun somewhere. I can't find it right now, but there it is. So hardly too fatal of a loss there, though. You can just recrew that one, and the veterancy, it seems these days, not that great on the light gun. Storm Pioneer is going to stay and trade at close range here, but they do kind of get cut down. Storm Tiger just lurking right now. He's not actually moving that one. If I was him, I'd just move it to like here, just somewhere where it's in position, ready to move and take a shot. Looks like the Major gets pushed away. MG34 team, I believe it is here. Going to overwatch Western VP. That one pretty much in the bag. I mean, overwatch with an MG, there's a Schwerpanzer HQ in the hood, which provides a sort of forward hardpoint from which Kanji can control that Western CP. And like, it just seems that Angreifen right now is just busy trying to maintain or trying to break mid. Which, to be fair, is starting to go his way. Gets the Lieutenant up onto that VP. Panzer IV is here to police. M1 anti-tank guns looking for their shots, but they're not actually in position yet, so the Panzer IV can just do a little bit more damage before it has to scurry away. There we go. Storm Tiger is actually going to roll forwards here, looking for the AT guns perhaps. Fallback comes down on surrounding American infantry. Storm Tiger still just looking. This is the thing about the Storm Tiger, actually. In a very real sense, to be honest. Yes, the shots it fires are very powerful, that cannot be denied, but the real power of the Storm Tiger is just in driving it round, forcing your opponent to respect the fact that you could fire. You can even tell it to fire and then cancel, so your opponent gets all scared because the barrel starts moving and aiming, and then you're like, nope, no, I don't want to fire that. And that's the real power of it, because any time that Storm Tiger faces an infantry unit, your opponent basically has to fall it back or lose the unit. Like, it's very powerful when it's not firing. Once the Storm Tiger has fired... Okay, there we go. That's a really just not great shot. No, you see, now it's awful. Now it's just a paperweight, of course. Now it needs to spend ages reloading. God damn, he's going to reload it again so close. This is so risky, reloading it this close. Once it starts reloading, it's sort of like rocket artillery levels of vulnerable. Like, one stray Sherman coming out of fog of war from an unexpected angle will kill it. Like, it's so bad, as far as I know, unless that has also been changed. I appreciate you want to reload it as soon as possible, but you've got to put it in a safe place to do so. There's not a cheap unit. Anyway, Jackson now on the queue here for PanzerGrenadierAngreifen, who I'm pleased to say takes a pretty sensible approach to buying his armoured units. You know, gets out a medium tank first, then gets a good unit to put behind it. The Jackson there being the good unit. So, I like that a lot. Panzer IV just still getting value in these fights. 2 stars of veterancy on that one. So it's starting to be quite the spicy Panzer. Definitely looking a lot better in this game than the last one. And I don't really think that that's down to Kanji. I think that's more down to the fact that we didn't have early AT guns and we did have a Stuart. And those things all just kind of combined so that there was a nice target for the Panzer IV to take out early on. Storm Tiger is ready, so he just immediately just forces the American infantry out of there. But yeah, as I was saying, yeah, so the Stuart was a nice target for the Panzer IV, and then the Stuart also delayed the tech, so the Sherman and the Jackson are like 70 fuel later. All of these factors combined with the AT guns that I already mentioned not being present just mean that this has just been a much better environment for a Panzer IV to be operating in, and you know we do see that. American forces do take Western VP, and this is seeming like a game that's going to come down to a VP grind, so that's important. Looks like Axis forces will take mid though, smoke coming down off the leg to provide cover, whilst the 50 cal going to secure that lovely arc on that 50 cal, just perfectly encompassing the ground over which the American forces might try to advance them to that point. Storm Tiger in a nice position, supporting nearby, waiting for shots to be taken. To be honest, if I was him, I would hide it here. That rocket will go through these walls, so you can just hide it here and then like rocket stuff down. But that's just me. I am a veteran and serial Storm Tiger abuser. Okay, so whoa, okay, oh no, he's going to lose his 5-star Volks. Oh, that's so low. Well, actually, Angreifen, a rare moment there where he doesn't focus fire in time. I feel sure there was a chance for a wipe there, but he doesn't go for it. Jackson gets on top of the Storm Tiger. Who's going to aim? Oh god, Jackson, no! Okay, where's the Panzer IV? Oh no, it's so far away! This Jackson's going to sneak away. Wow, though, the Storm Tiger defending itself so well. So the Storm Tiger's ability, the grenade launcher, has been redone. So now when you activate it, it's just active for like 40 seconds or something. It just like keeps firing grenades for that amount of time. Whereas before it was just like, I think it was a point and click ability, like a one use. So now it's hopefully a lot better. I think the idea behind that was to just make the Storm Tiger better. Sherman going to come poking in here. The Jackson has slunk all the way home to repair, as well it needs to. 1 star of veterancy is now on the Storm Tiger, so what does that give it? Oh, that gives it the grenade launcher. Okay. There we go. See, that's why you don't reload your Storm Tiger in like so close to the front. You just don't do it. This will always happen. It's so easy for the allied player to do. Now you've lost all your veterancy and you have to reload it again. Very annoying. And remember, the reload time is 40 seconds, so if your opponent gets to reset that, then it's like well over a minute usually that your Storm Tiger will be out of the fight. Just put it somewhere safe where it's not going to get shot, or else I guarantee you it's going to keep happening, my friend. Like, that is how you counter the Storm Tiger. If your opponent will put it in a place where you can hit it while it reloads, then you hit it while it reloads, and the unit is countered. Done. Simple. So just don't reload it in places where your opponent... This is also not a good place to reload it. Yeah, see, look, now here comes the Jackson. That's a done deal. He can just take that shot. It's reloading. Yep, there. You see the turret twitch across. Immediately, bomb. There we go. Bye-bye. Oh, he gets very lucky there. It didn't decrew. He's going to spend the AT shots here to destroy that one. And look, all off the back of that Storm Tiger being taken out. If that had not been dinked by that, if that was reloading here, it would be reloaded by now, and you could just drive it out here, and all this infantry has to respect you again, and suddenly the balance of power is completely different. And I know I'm sort of harping on about this, but it's a small thing. But seriously, if you put all of your resources into the Storm Tiger, it has to be efficiently taking shots. Otherwise, it is more of a weakness than it is a strength. It is more of a liability than it is an asset. And just off the back of that one reload being interrupted and the thing being dinked, we've lost control of mid-VP. Wow, the veterancy on this Axis infantry is getting there. Actually, you know what? Kanji has a lot of money. I would not mind Kanji just completing the tech tree here, just to have the option of KT in the pocket. Yeah, floating quite a lot of cash here is Kanji, and that's fine because we're at 86 unit supply. I'm not saying he needs to be spending it promptly, but you know, you could definitely throw down your mechanized reg. Also, this is, to be honest, a battlefield where a Werferman would actually kind of look fine. Oh, Panzer IV coming in super heavy here, gets super overextending. Rocket barrage comes in. That's actually going to be a trade of a Panzer IV for a Jackson, which is fine. That is fine. Both players probably okay with that. Storm Tiger gives a AT gun. So finally finds a nice shot there. Panzer IV gets rebought. Are you real? Are you real right now? Oh god, that was a squad wipe. What was that? Was that Volks Grenadiers? When the smoke clears. Was it Volks? Somebody got gibbed by those rockets. It was Volks. No? I don't know, actually. No, okay. No, okay. I think what happened is the model that died caused the squad indicator to move, and it looked like a squad wipe. I think it was just actually a Storm Pioneer got gibbed by that shot. But now he loses the 50 cal. And the roster for the Axis player has just been shredded over the last minute or two. Are we sure about getting a Panzer IV here? I just think... You've got a Storm Tiger. You know what supports a Storm Tiger really well? A Yagdi or a Panther. Nice grenade there. Oh my god. He falls back all of his squads. He really only had to fall back the wounded one there. Those squads would have been useful here. Those Volks would probably have beaten this MG. Okay, well, then the Americans take mid. Storm Tiger is reloaded. Needs repairs. Storm Pioneer's just poofing it on up here to repair that one. Listen to the engine on that thing. Chonko, he's going to rebuy the light gun as well. Wow, Kanji really a player who loves having that light gun. And again, I'm like, really? I think we're at the stage now in the game where, you know what, actually the smoke is still worthwhile, but I'm just saying you could throw down the mechanized reg and get stuck as a fuss, you know? And I wonder if that would be a slightly better indirect fire support solution. But, you know, the smoke has been relevant. It is still relevant, although it becomes less relevant the longer the game goes on to smoke, but it's still useful. Your opponent has triple MG, double anti-tank guns, so that smoke is pretty good, to be honest. Scoreline right now, about 150 ticket lead, 148 ticket lead for Kanji, so doing okay. American forces looking to try for the triple cap though. Smoke comes down, that's going to enable these rear Ash to get their work done here. They're going to poke out here, and that means that, yeah, they just see the machine gun. Panzer IV is going to come across to police these guys, but the smoke is still just lingering on. Pintle mount. Oh no, he's gone for the tank commander. So, okay, Panzer commander, not the MG Pintle mount on this one. M1 anti-tank guns are here in support though, so that Panzer IV, oof, has to be careful there. Axis unit's going to be trying to access the eastern VP, but there's a 50 cal on Overwatch, so that is just the nature of this map. Lots of buildings, lots of machine guns in buildings, very strong. Oh, the Sherman kind of caught in an interesting spot here. Storm Tiger could try for that. He's going to decline to take the shot for now. Okay, now the barrel twitches. Oh, he does take the shot. Oh, what a waste. Wow. You're never going to hit a tank just randomly like that. PanzerGrenadierAngreifen is not going to be asleep at the wheel, buddy. It's all good and well to twitch the barrel, but I don't think never take a shot at a tank that's just with nothing wrong with the tank. Unless the tank is like stunned, engine broken, stuck on some piece of terrain, being jammed by other units. Like, just your opponent is never going to let a Storm Tiger hit a medium armored tank unless they're, you know, not very good at the game, like most people I play against. So I am a bit... My eyebrow raises slightly at the choice to actually let that Storm Tiger rocket fire off. 380, I believe, the caliber of that rocket. 380mm rocket. Quite large, to say the least. Oh, okay, I mean, losing all your core infantry is definitely how you lose these kinds of games. And one squad gets cut down there. Is this reloaded? Oh, okay, that's... yeah, these middling shots. Not the best. Here comes the Panzer IV. Heat rounds are active. This Sherman kind of in a bad way here. We need a Faust to come down off these Volks. There's no munitions, actually. Sorry. A relatively straightforward pick-off there. Paratroopers getting added into the roster. A relatively straightforward kill there on the Sherman. That's quite nice to get. Kanji definitely still alive in this game, but I just worry that the core infantry has been depleted too much. It's, you know, the manpower's just not there to replace it. Also, we're stacking a lot of fuel that we'd love to spend. Still no mechanized reg, but yeah, I mean, you know, if there was a Panther out right now, that would be really nasty. Bundaroo grenade going to come down off of these Oversword Art, and no real damage being scored, though. Why are there no machine guns here? I feel like if there's one thing PanzerGrenadierAngreifen had plenty of, it was machine guns. But there actually isn't a machine gun covering this middle VP. Wow, there we go. So Axis forces are going to resecure middle. That's nice. Paratroopers here doing their best, but 5-star Volks with STGs will outmuscle them.
We've dropped to 200 points.
Alright, so the Storm Tiger just kind of wiggling around, making Angreifen respect the possibility of a rocket strike. Here comes that rocket. He's going to fire it across the CP again. Okay, he cancels it, thank goodness. No, you don't want to fire it across the capture point, bro. It won't work. Okay, well, you know, he killed 4 models of infantry. It's not too bad. Actually, he enables the Panzer IV somehow. The Jackson comes out looking for the Storm Tiger. Panzer IV kind of gets set up for the beginnings of an okay fight against that Jackson. The Jackson comes in. Angreifen, really? Whoa, why is the Panzer IV not pursuing? Oh, wow, I feel like you had that one. Angreifen there with a rare miscalculation. I think coming forward with the Jackson to there was a big mistake. He's lucky to get away with that one unpunished. Okay. Oh yeah, he can use emergency repairs on the Storm Tiger whilst it's reloading. Okay, well, of course he can. I mean, that's some nice synergy. And now we have quite the crater-strewn battlefield here, don't we? As we grind into the late game. About 100 tickets in it. 110. And Kanji just doing what needs to be done to stay in this game. The Storm Tiger has been okay. I mean, this has not been a good Storm Tiger by any means, but it has done enough. It has definitely had an impact on this battlefield. He's going to try for another shot here. Has to be a bit careful. This Storm Tiger, oh, he's going to try for the shot. Why? Why let that one? Oh dear. Well, I mean, he does break the... Every time he breaks the Allied infantry, I mean, it's almost not worth it. The rocket is almost worth more than killing the models. But it does take the wind out of the American advance, and this is a game that's become about time, obviously. I mean, it's about the victory points, so... I don't know. Whoa, is this Kettenwerfer just not going to track onto the... There we go, yeah, he does... Okay, he gets the Jackson, that's huge. Now, if he can just escape with the Panzer... With the Wow, Angreifen concedes. Yeah, I mean, okay, I think fair enough. Yeah, if you lose the Jackson there, you are legitimately dead, aren't you? Angreifen just super good at identifying. I mean, you're not super dead, but this game sort of falls into the sub 5% to win. And Angreifen identifying that immediately. He just knows without the Jackson, this is just going to be incredibly difficult. I think perhaps most players might have, because, you know, this Panzer IV is essentially a one-hit. You've got the Sherman more or less in its rear armour. I think a lot of players would be tempted to, like, play out this chase, see if you can get the Panzer IV, which you probably can, and then see if you can play out the game from there. But, I mean, I appreciate you're facing rock-hard, 5-star Axis infantry, and you're quite far behind on the scoreline, and you're also facing off against a Storm Tiger, for which you really have no answer. And it's going to be very hard to ever access the victory points on the map with that Storm Tiger breaking your momentum every time by just killing a load of models and forcing you to fall back. And that is the bare minimum amount of value a Storm Tiger can realise. And in this game, it was enough. Yeah, you don't always need to find those berserk bullseye epic shots where you're like crushing tanks and wiping squads. Sometimes the Storm Tiger is just kind of a passable imitation for a rocket artillery unit that just breaks the momentum of your opponent's advance every time they try and come forward. So, all right, thank goodness I was going to say, if they're playing another one, I would definitely cast it, but my voice is nearly out of steam. So that's fantastic. 2 great games caught out on the ladder there. Nice to see 2 games between 2 players, and nice to see an even split on wins as well. Just great to see some super high. I mean, that was top level Company of Heroes, and yeah, I just feel very lucky to have caught those games there. So yeah, I guess that concludes this this lockdown cast, Tuesday the 28th. I'm sure there'll be more coming. Thank you very much for choosing to spend your time with me today, and this for now, Magpie842 signing out.